On the Sabbath, carrying a key, pushing a stroller, or transporting medicine outside one's home is forbidden under Jewish law. This restriction, if strictly applied, fundamentally limits Orthodox communal and family life in urban settings. The Eruv is a legal fiction, a Halakhic loophole that transforms a public street into a shared private courtyard. It is not a physical barrier intended to block entry. It is a symbolic boundary, often just a simple wire strung between utility poles, that redefines the legal status of the space beneath it. This redefinition allows observant Jews to carry objects necessary for daily life, relying on ancient Talmudic principles applied directly to modern urban infrastructure. The prohibition against carrying is one of the 39 categories of forbidden labor, known as melakot, specifically the melakah of hotza'ah, or transferring. This applies only when transferring objects between distinct legal domains or carrying within a specific public domain. The primary distinction is between Reshut HaYachid, a private domain enclosed by walls, and Reshut HaRabbim, a public domain. Historically, a Reshut HaRabbim was defined by specific size and traffic criteria, requiring a thoroughfare 16 cubits wide, used by 600,000 people daily. The Eruv primarily functions to eliminate the biblical prohibition of carrying between or within these domains. Before addressing the public street, the concept of Eruv Chatzerot, or the merging of courtyards, must be established. If multiple families live in separate apartments opening onto a shared courtyard, they must pool their resources, typically bread or matzah, into a single designated location. This symbolic act establishes a shared ownership, legally transforming the separate private domains into one unified private domain. This permits carrying between the individual homes and the courtyard on Shabbat. This principle of shared ownership and unification is foundational to the larger Eruv structure that encompasses the entire neighborhood.
The physical boundary of the Eruv is constructed using the principle of Tzurot HaPetach, meaning the form of a doorway. A doorway requires two vertical posts, called Lechi, and a horizontal lintel, called a Kora, resting on top. In modern Eruvin, the vertical posts are often existing utility poles, streetlights, or designated wooden posts. The horizontal lintel is the thin wire or string, known as the Lechi, stretched between them. This series of symbolic doorways, encircling an entire neighborhood, creates the legal enclosure necessary to redefine the space within, effectively treating the entire area as a single massive courtyard. The Lechi wire must adhere to strict dimensional requirements to be valid. It must be taut and continuous, positioned at least 10 handbreadths, approximately 32 inches, above the ground, but below any permanent obstruction, such as a bridge or overpass. Gaps in the enclosure are permitted only if they are less than 10 cubits wide, roughly 15 feet, allowing for streets and alleys to pass through without breaking the continuity. If a gap is wider, a specific Halakhic mechanism, such as a sidepost or a gate, must be employed to maintain the boundary. The integrity of the Eruv depends entirely on the precise adherence to these dimensional requirements. The Eruv does not strictly transform the public domain, Reshut HaRabbim, into a fully private domain, Reshut HaYachid, according to most contemporary authorities. Instead, it transforms the area into a Karmelit, a semi-public domain, which is rabbinically but not biblically forbidden for carrying. By enclosing the area, the Eruv removes the biblical prohibition entirely. The rabbinic prohibition associated with the Karmelit is then lifted through the mechanism of the shared courtyard, Eruv Chatzerot, which is established over the entire enclosed area. This dual application of legal fictions is what permits carrying within the defined boundary.
Maintaining the Eruv requires constant vigilance and weekly inspection. The entire perimeter must be checked, typically before sunset on Friday, to ensure the Lechi wire remains intact and properly positioned. Wind, construction, or vehicle accidents frequently damage the structure. If any section is compromised, the Eruv is invalid, and carrying becomes forbidden for the entire community until the damage is repaired. A designated rabbi, known as the Posek, holds the ultimate authority to declare the Eruv valid or invalid for the Sabbath, often issuing a public announcement regarding its status. Eruvin often face significant challenges, particularly regarding municipal permissions, since the structure utilizes public property, such as streetlights and utility poles. Furthermore, there are deep halakhic disputes regarding whether modern major cities qualify as a biblical Reshut HaRabbim, which would invalidate the Eruv entirely, according to some strict opinions. The involvement of non-Jewish residents is also crucial. Their property must be legally leased for the duration of the Eruv's existence to ensure the entire area is considered shared Jewish property for the Sabbath. This lease, known as aschira, is a necessary component of the legal fiction. The Eruv is a profound example of how Jewish law adapts to modern life while maintaining ancient principles. It allows families with young children, individuals requiring medical devices, or those needing to transport food to communal meals to fully participate in the Sabbath experience outside their homes. Without the Eruv, Orthodox communal life in dense urban settings would be severely restricted, isolating many families and limiting participation in synagogue and social activities. This simple wire is the technological hack that enables the continuity of community and family life during the day of rest, bridging the gap between ancient law and contemporary necessity.